This is a Strat style guitar, and I'm about to show you exactly how it's wired up and how all the different components work. Now, by the way, this is not a Fender Strat, it's actually an SX. But the reason I pick a Strat style, to my mind, it's got to be the most ubiquitous guitar in existence. If you are serious about electric guitars, you either own one or you've played one. The second reason being it works very well as a foundational tool, right? A lot of the stuff that I'm about to explain, you can use when it comes to soldering, I don't know, a Les Paul or an Ibanez or something like that, right? You can transfer knowledge. That being said, I'm not going to go too deeply into how some of the stuff works. Pickups, for instance, is rather complex physics going on there, which I'm not going to go into. The rest of the stuff I'm going to try and give you as comprehensive an overview as I can do. We'll simplify a little bit about how the parts work. We'll get there, don't stress. We'll start with our jack socket. Now, if I was ordering one of these, I'd ask for a 6mm Strat style socket. Input sockets, but yeah. Right. 6mm always felt a little redundant to me because they only come in one size. They come in different lengths, but the width is 6mm. It's actually 6.2 something millimeters. But who's counting? Now, to be clear, that part there is actually your jack socket. The rest of this is a jack plate. Okay, there's a little nut that you can see holds it on. The jack socket, by the way, they do come in different lengths, so just be careful of that. That's actually why I asked for a Strat style jack socket. That tells my supplier what length. So you get barrel sockets and things like that. It's important in terms of jack plates, though, because this you'll see is a sunken in plate. On a Telecaster, you'd have a different jack plate. On a Les Paul, you'd have a different jack plate. And so on and so forth. But moving on, our jack socket has got two wires, our red and our white wire here. And what makes it unique is that it is the only component in this whole guitar where both wires get soldered to the same components, which in this case is our volume parts. Every other component, one wire will get soldered to one part and the other wire will get soldered to a different part. Now, when you look at this volume parts, I understand it looks intimidating as all hell. Let's just move those aside for now, because there's like 250,000 wires soldered to the top. We're not going to worry about the top yet. We're only going to look at the pins, which are a little bit not the easiest to see because of all these wires soldered on top. We'll get back to what these wires are for. And the reason I say that is we're going to go through all of the parts first, because once we understand how the rest are soldered up, the top of this volume part becomes easy. Trust me. Now, our first pin on our volume parts, which you can't really see, it's going to be difficult to show you, but just trust me when I say that pin there is bent back and soldered to the top. Okay? The next pin is actually from our jack socket. That's that red wire there. This red wire here goes to our pickup selector, which we will get to later. That's it. That's all you need to know for now in terms of our volume parts. Moving on to our tone potentiometers, which is actually a great time to explain if I was to order these parts, what would I call them? And if I was to order a volume part, I'd ask for an A250K potentiometer. If I wanted a tone part, which are what these two are, I'd ask for a B250K potentiometer. So a potentiometer is what these things are. The 250K is the measurement, and then A is for volume and B is for tone. The difference being A is logarithmic and B is, we won't get too much into it. Just trust me, it's a different way that it increases signal. In fact, that actually does bring me to what a potentiometer even is. Really, all these things are is just signal limiters. So at 10, we're allowing all of the signal through to our jack socket. Drop that down to 1, you've now cut off all of the signal. You've essentially muted it. Right? So you start at 1, there's no signal. As I turn it up, I'm allowing more signal to travel through to our jack socket. And it's exactly the same with the tone parts. The difference being the two capacitors. Okay? Now the two caps are important because the capacitors are what make these things tone knobs. I'm going to simplify this down a little bit. I hope you don't mind. The way that I was taught, the way that a tone pot works, I'm going to make sure that I get this right. They are not, we tend to think of these as sort of signal boosters, all right, or frequency boosters, right? Like, as I turn up this pot closer to 10, I'm boosting the high frequencies, but that's not actually what I'm doing. Rather, this is a signal limiter, same as that pot there. So at 10, we're allowing all of our high frequencies through. Whereas if you start to turn it down, to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, you are limiting how much high frequencies are going through to our jack socket. That's how it works. And the capacitor is what makes that happen. By the way, if there was no capacitor there, these would be acting the same as a volume pot. Not exactly the same, because again, that is a logarithmic situation, whereas that's a straight line. I'm blanking on the term that they use, the technical term. Anyways, the point is that these limits signal, they don't boost, which is also, by the way, 10 is allowing the most high frequencies through, whereas 0 would be limiting them. So actually, if you wanted to not make use of your tone knobs, you would crank them up to 10. Cranking up to 10, to put it a different way, would be exactly the same as bypassing these tone pots, if I'm correct. Yeah. Now, as for how these are soldered, and see if I can get this into a position that you can actually see what the heck is going on here. Tone pots, we only use 2 of those pins. One of them is for our capacitor, the end pin, and then to the other pin of the cap gets soldered to the top of the tone pot. Same goes for this one. Middle pin is for our wire. And then the end pin over there is for our capacitor, which also gets soldered to the top. Now, the 2 wires, this one's yellow and this one's black. The middle pins of our tone pots both get soldered to our pickup selector. Again, I'm not going to worry about these black grounding wires yet. We'll explain how grounding works in a minute. Because the next thing to understand is our pickup selector itself. Okay? With all of these wires, can be a little bit intimidating. It's actually not that hard. By the way, this is a modern type. The older type had pins on both sides. So the order in which you soldered was a little bit more complex to visualize, at least for me. So the first 3 pins on the left here are all for our pickups, right? That's nice and easy. The next pin goes to our volume pot. We leave out that pin, or we can bridge it to that pin, depending on which pickups you want controlled by your tone pots. That pin, second to the edge, goes to this pot here. That pin goes, the end pin goes to that pot there. The way I remember this is that our pickups are in order, but our tone pots are swapped around. So, bridge pickup, middle pickup, neck pickup. Does that make sense? Whereas these 2 contacts are swapped. This yellow wire, you would think, would go to that pot. It actually goes to the middle pot. And that black wire goes to that pot there. Now, this is how this guitar is set up. And honestly, you can actually decide, if you really wanted to, you could swap these around. I don't know why you would, but you could. You could also bridge those 2 pins, and therefore this pot would now control 2 pickups. There's different configurations. So I'm editing this video, and I suddenly realized that I completely forgot to demonstrate how the pickup selector actually works, like what it's for. And to be honest, it is kind of in the name. It's called a pickup selector because you can select which pickup you wish to activate, pickup or pickups, as you'll see. Now, if I move this all the way up, we'll call that position 1, which is closest to our pickups. We have activated the neck pickup. That's what it's called, right? If I move it down 1 notch, we've activated the neck pickup and the middle pickup. If I move it to the middle, at position 3, we have activated the middle pickup by itself. Position 4, which is one more down, and it's the middle pickup and the bridge pickup. And then finally, furthest away from our pickups, we have activated the bridge pickup by itself. Nice and simple. While we edit the tone pots, in this particular configuration, the way it's been soldered, this tone pot is going to affect our neck pickup, and this tone pot is going to affect our middle pickup. Right? That having been said, let's talk about the pickups themselves. Our pickups have 2 wires each. 3 of our wires, all of the ones that are different colors, get soldered to our pickup selector. We've talked about that. The 3 black ones get grounded to our volume pots on the top of the pot. Right? Talking of grounding, you will notice that this tone pot gets grounded to this tone pot, which in turn gets grounded to our volume pots, and our pickup selector gets grounded to this pot, which in turn gets grounded to that pot. You could actually move both of these grounds, if I'm correct, to our volume pots, and it should still be fine. I don't know that for 100% certain, but that's the way I was taught. Someone out there with an electrical engineering degree will be able to correct me on that. But anyways, that's basically all of the wiring that you need to know about how this stuff works. I have simplified how our tone pots work just a bit. There's other videos that will go into much more detail in terms of how these caps work. Because, for example, your capacitors, they actually come in 2 sizes. This is a smaller size designed for a single coil pickup, but you get a bigger size capacitor which is designed for humbuckers or double coil pickups. I think that, there's one last thing. This wire here, I want to try and show you if I can. Let's move that out the way. You see it goes down to the hole there. On the back of this guitar, which I won't be able to show you now, there is a claw. Now the claw is what holds your springs onto your bridge, which allows for tremolo action. All it is it's a grounding wire. And the reason we ground all of these parts, by the way, is because these are single coil pickups. Inherently, they're going to have noise. So we want to try and limit that. That's basically it. And yeah, that's pretty much all that you need to know if you wanted to solder one of these things up. There's a lot more you can learn. And obviously, this is not the only setup that exists, but it's a good starting point. So I really hope this video has been helpful to you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.